What is happening, everybody? Joseph coming your way. And yeah, what a departure this is from the last video I made, huh? I've calmed down since then, no worries. But one thing I like doing on this channel is and anyone who follows my channel knows this, is along the wrestling and gaming stuff that I do, I like to pepper in like some other lifestyle stuff that I like to talk about. And what I'm doing actually in this video, it's an assignment of sorts for a Facebook group that I just recently joined. I recently got back on Facebook. However, I am not really using it as much as I used to, and I'm certainly not doing the really dumb things on it that I used to as well. I actually joined like a blogging group, and it's just a whole bunch of bloggers who share their stuff and whatever. And there was an assignment today where you post a video from your YouTube channel into the group. So I'm going to be releasing this to the group. So yeah, welcome. Welcome to anyone in that Facebook group who is watching this. What's up? So last article on my blog that I wrote this morning was about 5 most addictive substances. And before I continue, I want to say this: I'm not like a doctor or a medical expert or anything like that. The only real knowledge I have of these things is my own experience, and I feel like that's like really just as credible, if not more credible, than what any practitioner would say. You know what I mean? Like, experience is way better than this. There's more. You can teach more from experience than theory, in my opinion. So whatever. So anyways, yeah. So without further ado, let's get right into these. Okay, so the 5 most addictive substances. So I'm going to list them out, and then we'll just talk about each one by one, and how you can incorporate them in your life in a way that doesn't interfere with your productivity or your health and other stuff like that, because that's super important, because all 5 of these things are very easy to get. They are marketed to hell. Like, they are heavily marketed. And all of them, save for one, there's only one that's age restricted. Okay? So you could be like 12 years old in junior high and still get a hold of these substances. So, and I'm not talking about activities here. Activity is something you do. Substances is something you put in your body, obviously. So these are just substances. I might make another list of these for activities, although I think I've already have, but I don't know. And there's a whole bunch of other resources too when it comes to this stuff from YouTubers who are way more established than I am. But I feel like my input is a little bit more real. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, it's more real in that I don't edit. I don't have fancy, cute graphics and stuff like that. I don't have the budget for that. I can't pay people for that, and I don't want to do it myself because it would take a whole damn day. I have work I have to do. So, anyways, yeah. So let's start with the list here. Caffeine is the first one. Sugar is the second one. Over-the-counter drugs. Over-the-counter drugs is the third one. Overly processed food, beverage, which could also be added into sugar, but I kind of separate those. And of course, and drugs and alcohol, or alcohol, tobacco. Okay. And like I said, from my knowledge, at least 4 of these are not age restricted. Caffeine is not age restricted. Sugar is not age restricted. Processed food and beverage, comfort food, whatever the hell you want to call it, that is not age restricted. I don't know about over-the-counter drugs. They were not age restricted when I started buying them in junior high. I would be sick, and then my mom would be like, okay, here's $10. After school, go to the store and buy some NyQuil or some headache medicine or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and I would be able to do that 25 years ago. Now, I haven't been an adolescent for 25 years, so I have no idea if it's, that's still a thing. Probably is, though. And of course, alcohol, tobacco, you have to be 21 in order to buy it. So, caffeine. Why is caffeine so addictive? All of these things are addictive pretty much for the same reason. And that is, let's go to that first. So, reasons why these are so addictive. They jack up your dopamine levels. Or dopamine levels in your brain. So what is dopamine? So dopamine, there's a lot of videos about this, by the way. I can name a few YouTubers who have created good videos on this. Universal Man, Alex Becker, I think his name is like James Janil or something like that. Andrew Kirby has done some good videos about this. What else? Who else? Sam Ovens has also made some good videos about this. So dopamine is a chemical in your brain that processes two little concepts at the same time. So it processes your satisfaction and also I can't remember the word. Stimulation, pleasure. I almost said pressure. No, pleasure. So pleasure, stimulation, and almost like accomplishment, to where if you do something and your brain says, wow, that felt really good, I want to do it again because I want to feel good again, that's the dopamine receptors in your brain responding to the action you do. And all 5 of these things are designed to make you feel, are designed as almost like de-stressors, to make you feel 1 ounce better than you are currently. So yeah, so that's like the big reason why they're so addictive. So yeah, so they jack up dopamine levels in your brain. They are marketed like crazy. They are like in style to use, to where let's say you go to a party, right? Well, there's gonna be a lot of people getting drunk and getting high from drinking alcohol and smoking joints, and then you say, oh yeah, I'm good, man, I'm good. People are gonna be like, this guy's ruining our good time here. Don't like that, Or if you it's funny, I'm a member of a National Novel Writing Month, and so they're like, oh, here's the tips of how you write your 50,000 word novel. You write, you commit, that kind of stuff, and you have lots of caffeine on hand. It's like, what if I told you that caffeine actually messes with your productivity? And what if I told you that it messes with your energy levels and does that? So, that kind of stuff. So, and people don't like that. You know what I mean? I'm going to actually put this in a numbered list, because I'm just going to put little descriptions on it here. If you want the whole article, read the blog. The blog has I've written almost a 3,000 word article on specifics about all 5 of these things. But yes, so high dopamine levels, or jacks up dopamine levels, right? Heavily marketed. All around us. Easy to get. Cheap. Stuff like that. It's in style. It's in style, meaning, if you don't have it, then what's wrong with you, that kind of stuff. And that's about it. So, I'll go ahead and, let me go ahead and describe a few of these things. So, caffeine. So, what does caffeine do? It alters your energy levels, right? Alters energy levels. You get a nice rush, then you crash. Okay, simple enough, right? Well, what if I told you that your brain is not really naturally designed for those kinds of levels to be reached? What if I told you that because you're doing that, now your brain draws up, it almost like rewrites a new norm. It rewrites a new program in it to where it says, I can only be energetic if I have caffeine. If I don't have caffeine, then I can't do anything. That's what happens when you have a lot of caffeine. Another thing that happens when you have caffeine, because caffeine is a stimulant drug, obviously. If you have the education of a fifth grader, then you know that caffeine is a stimulant. What happens with a stimulant? So stimulant means, of course, it activates certain stuff in your brain, right? And depressant, of course, deactivates some stuff, or it removes certain chemicals from being produced too much, or whatever. Okay, I'll talk about that when I get to alcohol. With caffeine, it can get you so wired that you can actually have anxiety. This was pretty common with a buddy of mine who he would drink like a diet soda, and then it would mess with him physically, And I said to him, that's not cool. You should probably stop drinking it, or at least stop drinking sugary drinks with caffeine. You know what I mean? So yeah, and honestly, the way this really affects you depends on a few factors. It depends on your age, for one. So, if you're under the age of 35, you could probably get away with all these things. You will not even notice. Like when I had caffeine a lot in my life, I was working graveyard shift at a store, at a convenience store, and they had full throttle in the fountain. Full throttle is like Monster Light, pretty much. You know what I mean? So I'd get it, I'd put it in a bottle, not like this. I'd put it in a plastic bottle with a cap, and I would shake it and flatten it to get the carbonation out, because I do not like carbonated drinks. Ugh. I like slightly carbonated, but not ridiculous. You know what I mean? Although if something is carbonated, I do drink it a lot slower. Anyways, so I would have that. I would have a big cup of water and a small one of full throttle. So during my lunch, I would have the full throttle with my lunch, and then I would have snacks in between, and I would drink the water with the snacks. And then before I got home, I would fill the big gulp with full throttle, and I would drink that because I would have to go to school. So I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna go home, take a shower, and then do some push-ups or something like that, just to keep myself awake. And then I'm gonna have Then I'm gonna have that thing of full throttle while riding the bus to school. So yeah, and I was in my late 20s to early 30s when I did this. So I didn't really experience anything too drastic. You know what I mean? So yeah. So sugar. So American Heart. So Heart Association says that 30 grams to only so it's the same with sugar. So the American Heart Association is like, yo, consume at most 30 grams of sugar. That is not easy to do in the average American's life. Okay, I can do it because I created like a specific strategy for it. You know what I mean? I don't keep the only food I keep in the house is eggs for my omelets. If I want to make a steak, instead of an omelet, then I have steaks. Um, Mixed vegetables, which I'll be talking about more of the overly processed food and stuff, and ramen if I like. If I'm extra hungry, I'll have some ramen. Nothing. I don't keep any sugar in the apartment at all. I don't keep them in a bag, nothing like that. No. If I want sugar with like my tea, I do have tea, but this tea is caffeine free. Then what I'll do is I will go to a store or something like that and grab a whole bunch of sugar packets and I'll put it in with the tea if I'm drinking it during the afternoon. Otherwise, there is no sugar in the house. Nothing. The reason was okay, so sugar is probably the most addictive of these because sugar it doesn't satisfy you physically at all. Like you could eat all kinds of sugar all day and your body's like, where's the nourishment, bruh? Like, where's the nourishment? I'm still hungry, dude. Or you'll drink soda, and then you'll be like, nah, man, nah, my thirst isn't quenched. Like, where? Nah, no, no, no. But I need more. So yeah, so sugar, it's extremely addictive, just like caffeine too. It's of course it's stimulant. So yeah, so that's another thing about sugar as well. And also, if you're like overweight or underweight or whatever, especially if you're overweight, then sugar is really gonna hurt you. Cause if you're overweight, and I mean like decisively overweight, um, and there's a good chance you might have diabetes if you consume all that sugar. So if you have like a family history of diabetes, or even a family history of cancer, or anything like that, then I'd probably back off the sugar consumption and do like what I do is like a cheat meal every week. You know what I mean? Where you okay, let's go ahead and have some soda on this one cheat meal, this one cheat day, that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. So over the counter drugs. So there are three types of these. So there's vitamins, which everyone should have. Vitamins, cough, cold, flu, and let's see. Then you got Advil and stuff like that, right? Advil. So, vitamins, yes, those aren't addictive because they just happen to be good for you. Cough, cold, and flu suppressants. I haven't had much trouble with these at all. In fact, I hardly ever take them even if I do have a cough, cold, or flu. Most of the time I have a cough or cold or anything like that, it just goes away. And like 3 days, it's gone. You know what I mean? Like COVID. Like when I had COVID last month, I didn't even know I had symptoms. I went and got tested just out of curiosity because I couldn't smell anything. I was like, I can't smell anything. I might have COVID. And I did. But I was still able to do everything I needed to do. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Then you have stuff like Advil, Tylenol, headache medicine, ibuprofen, acetaminophen, sleep aids, and stuff like that. Those are that's the group of over-the-counter drugs that you need to avoid. That kind of stuff has a lot of side effects. And it also compromises certain areas. I believe it compromises certain areas of your immune system. I had a really nasty addiction to sleeping pills in my mid 20s to where I developed some pretty nasty side effects. I had really bad mood swings. I had horrible brain fog. Like brain fog to where like I didn't know what day it was. Brain fog to where like I didn't know what bus routes needed to take to get to school and to get home from school when I was in college. I didn't know what bills were due. A bill would be due, it'd be overdue, it'd be late, and I'd be like, I didn't have this bill. What the hell? And I would like get on the phone and like call them and be like, I didn't get a bill. I didn't get a bill. You know, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I would start with one sleeping pill, and then by the time I threw the pills away, because one of my buddies decided to not tolerate my bullshit, I was on four. Four pills would knock me out for like 3 hours. If you have sleeping problems, sleeping pills are not the solution. Okay? There's like a public service announcement of sorts against sleeping pills, but no. Just say no to sleeping pills. They will ruin you. Okay? I don't care what it is. If it's Tylenol PM, Xanax, what else? Valium, other stuff like that, you cannot do that. No. No, you can't do that. The other stuff is fine. And even headache medicine, I personally don't really care for that because like if you have a headache, it means you're stressed out or you are dehydrated. Those are like the two biggest causes of a headache. Or you have the flu, probably because you're stressed out and dehydrated and you are not sleeping enough. The things I mentioned in my survival guide for COVID-19, those things can apply to you even if you don't have COVID-19, okay? And they will get you to take these over-the-counter drugs less. Think of over-the-counter drugs as performance-enhancing drugs if you're an athlete, okay? If you're an athlete and you're taking performance-enhancing drugs, which I don't have an opinion for or against it. People can do whatever they want as long as they're not hurting anybody, right? But if you're taking performance-enhancing drugs, but you're not practicing, you aren't doing drills, you aren't, you're not exercising, you're not doing any of that stuff that a lot of professional athletes have to do, for a living because that's how they make money, and you just take the performance-enhancing drugs, the PEDs, then what happens when they're not around? Then you're gonna suck. You know what I mean? You could think of over-the-counter drugs as similar to that. So yeah. All right. So overly processed food and beverage. 3 things you need to know about this, or 2 things you need to know about this. So what constitutes overly processed food and beverages? So first is that it comes in a bag or in a container. Comes in a container, contains more than 8 ingredients. Expires in more than 1 month. Okay, so if the stuff that you're putting in your body comes in a container, whether it's a bag, box, whatever, contains at least 8 ingredients and expires in over a month, then it's overly processed. Now, there are certain overly, that's why I didn't say comfort food, because pretty much everything is overly processed nowadays. Like the lemons I make my tea with, those are overly processed because they come in a freaking bag. And if I kept them in the fridge for a month, they probably would go bad in a month. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean. So here's an example. So my final meal of the day is either ramen with mixed vegetables in them or just mixed vegetables. Uh, these mixed vegetables are just, they're frozen because they're cheaper that way and they last longer. So they would be considered an overly processed food. However, they are way less bad for you than a burger or than ice cream or other stuff like that, or cereal, or Pop Tarts, or stuff that like lasts forever and ever and ever and ever and has over 9,000 ingredients. Okay, so keep that in mind. And you don't need to be perfect on this stuff either. Like, for example, sorry, I'm just checking here. All right. For example, like, not everyone can be like me who can do intermittent fasting and 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 who works from home and who can just who can get away with just eating like just a couple things that are not as overly processed or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I usually just have either one steak and that's it, like a big 16-ounce steak at like 7 in the afternoon, and then I'm done eating for the whole day, one meal a day, or I'll do 3 meals, or I'll have an omelet at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll have a peanut butter sandwich at 7, and then I'll have my bowl of vegetables at 11. You know what I mean? Some people are like, "Oh, that's too much. That's not enough food, man," and don't feel bad about that. However, you do need to understand that you might be stress eating. And it's funny, we've created like a PC term for stress eaters called foodies. You're not a foodie, okay? There's nothing endearing about being addicted to food, okay? Like, no, you're not a foodie. You're a stress eater. Stress eating is very bad. Stress eating is not a healthy lifestyle, okay? I consider stress eating as like you're consuming way too many calories than you're burning out. You know what I mean? Like, okay, let's say, all right, yeah, so what, 2,000 calories a day is like the recommended. If you're eating like 3,000, 4,000 calories a day and you're not like engaged in heavy activity every day, rigorous physical activity, more than just doing push-ups and squats at the house, which is what I'm doing right now, then you need to eat a lot less, like a lot less. You know what I mean? And you definitely need to get all that processed food out of your system, and go for as much as you can. When you go shopping in the supermarket, shop the corners. That's where the least processed stuff is. And another good rule of thumb to follow with that is that the more flavorful the thing you're eating or drinking is, the worse it is for you. That's that's probably the biggest like rule of thumb there. So yeah. All right, alcohol and tobacco. Let's go with that. So alcohol. So what does alcohol do to you? It of course everyone says it's a depressant, right? So it lowers inhibitions. So if you deal with a lot of like anxiety and stuff like that, or you're really shy, right? You're not really outgoing and stuff like that, or you just you overthink things. A lot of writers actually, they drink because it clears the cobwebs. You know what I mean? And then like their inhibitions are gone. They just write forever and ever and ever. One of my favorite writers, Ernest Hemingway, was like that, right? So alcohol does that. And the thing about alcohol is that you enjoy, if you enjoy the liquid courage too much, you'll rely on it to function in certain situations. So, and this gets marketed a lot in college. Oh yeah, go out and drink and have a good time and celebrate your youth and stuff like that. Because lower your inhibitions, man, that kind of stuff. And people can get addicted not to the alcohol itself. They could choose any other substance that lowers their inhibitions, and they would probably choose that. Like if you ate like tacos and it lowered your inhibitions, like people would be reaching for tacos. They'd be like, oh yeah, screw alcohol. I don't need that to lower my inhibitions anymore because I got these tacos. You know what I mean? So yeah. As well as tobacco. So what tobacco does, smoking cigarettes, so it relieves stress. And, here. So, smoking cigars or cigarettes will relieve stress, but it only relieves stress because it distracts you from stressful stuff. When people say, oh man, if someone at work says, oh, today sucks, today is just awful, I need a cigarette. They need a distraction from whatever is stressing them out. That's all it is. And marijuana does this on an even higher level. Does this, to a larger degree. So with marijuana, a lot of reasons why people smoke marijuana and get high to relieve their anxiety is because it distracts it stimulates the part of their brain that is not anxious so much to where it ignores the other part that is anxious. One of the reasons why marijuana actually makes me anxious is because it does the opposite. So back when I lived with people, I used to live with 2 other people here, and then they moved out. Now I'm here all by myself. One person would be getting high all the time. They would just get high every day. And it was affecting my work. I wasn't able to write. I was overthinking stuff. I would just sit and watch TV because I'd be like, I can't do anything. That's because the marijuana was making me anxious. It was taking away the area of my brain that I use to focus, and it was pretty much bringing my fears to life. So whenever someone gets high and they smoke marijuana and they get paranoid, that's because they're usually not paranoid. The ones who smoke it and they don't feel anxious anymore is because they're anxious all the time. It's because they're paranoid and anxious all the time. So yeah. So that's a little bit of information about all these things. So how do you adjust your lifestyle to where you just do these things sparingly, right? So caffeine, this is going to be a really quick thing. Caffeine, if you're under the age of 35, you don't need caffeine. You don't. You have plenty of natural energy within you to not need caffeine at all. Over 35, your energy levels get a little lower, and you will probably need caffeine if you need to stay up a little later so you can work on a project, or if you need to wake up a little bit earlier than usual, then yes, then get that can of soda or get that coffee. That's fine. Sugar, you should probably reserve it for cheat days, where you just cheat on your diet. Cheat days are only allowed if you have a certain level of health and fitness. If you're not healthy and you're not fit, you can't have sugar at all, no matter how old or young you are. And as far as consuming sugar, in my opinion, in my estimation, that should just end whenever you turn 40. Or at least be once every quarter or once or twice a year or once a year. Okay? I'm going to be 40 in 2 years. That's going to be my plan. My plan is next year at 39, I'm probably going to cheat on my diet once a month. And then when I turn 40, it'll be once a quarter. and then it'll be twice a year, and then it'll probably just be twice a year for the rest of my life, whenever I turn 40. You know what I mean? So, yeah. It's the same with over-the-counter drugs. Ideally, you should never need them. Vitamins, yes. Take vitamins every day, absolutely. Cough, cold, flu suppressant, sure. If you really feel that sick, if you really feel like you need it, go ahead. But when it comes to Advil, Tylenol, headache medicine, sleep aids, that kind of stuff, or pain relieving stuff like pain medication, pain pills, or muscle relaxers, that kind of stuff, no. No. If you lead a healthy lifestyle where you're active every day, where you're stretching every day, where you're not sitting or standing for hours on end, you will not need those things at all. When I had COVID-19, I didn't, even when I had like 2 days where I had like a slight fever, I didn't have to take a single damn thing. Nothing. I didn't have to take anything at all. And I was just fine because my healthy lifestyle allowed my body to recover for me. Comfort food. Comfort food, if you're under 50, you could probably eat it once or twice a week, depending on how active you are, depending on your lifestyle, depending on how fit and healthy you are, that kind of stuff. If you aren't fit or healthy, you can't have comfort food at all until you become fit and healthy, okay? Sometimes I'll actually do this. I'll do one meal a day, and instead of a steak, I'll get like a couple burgers, okay? And that's it. That's the only thing I'll eat the entire day, okay? And that's after intense workout in a fasted state where I'm drinking nothing but this, and that is acceptable because I've already burned off 600, 700 calories when I'm running 5K or lifting weights, so I can go ahead and cheat because, I mean, I'm in a deficit anyways. And also, I'm fit enough to handle that. If you're not, then you can't have that at all. Alcohol and tobacco. So you need to set your limits for that. So if I have more than 2 drinks in a row across like 2 or so hours, then I turn into like I turn into a jerk. I turn into this dude who like runs around the place and I hit on all the chicks there and other stuff like that, and and if I get into a conversation with somebody, I'll like tell them my life story and stuff, and it'll be pretty embarrassing. So I know that I need to have a 2-drink limit whenever I'm out drinking. And I drink once a week, if that, if it's around. If it's not around, I don't even drink at all. Like there's been stretches of like 3, 4, 5 months where I haven't had a single drink of alcohol. Nothing. You know what I mean? Tobacco and cigarettes, cigars, and marijuana and stuff. Again, same thing as alcohol. Once a week. That's all you got. That's all you can do. Is once a week. If your family doesn't have history of tobacco related illnesses, for example, if if your dad was an alcoholic and you drink alcohol, like you're dumb. Like why did you do that? Like that's a no-no. That's a no-no, bro. If one of your parents had lung cancer, which essentially my dad did have lung cancer, it moved from his stomach to his lungs. That doesn't matter. He still had lung cancer. That means I can't smoke anything. I can't smoke any cigars or cigarettes because that will increase my chances of getting lung cancer too, because it passed down from my family. So why would I do that? So yeah. And alcohol and tobacco, honestly, all of that should end when you turn 40. Like as soon as when the clock strikes 12 midnight on your 40th birthday, you should say, okay, no more alcohol, no more tobacco until I die. And that's all. You know what I mean? Even if you see people older than 40 drinking around you. Because in 20 or so years, when they enter their 60s, they're not going to be able to function. Do you want to be able to function when you're 60? I do. So therefore, I'm not going to take those kind of substances when my body needs me to be at my best the most, which is after 35, after 40, after 50, that kind of stuff. So, yeah. Anyways, whew, damn. Okay, what a long video. I did not mean it to be this long. But I hope you enjoyed. I'll post a link to my blog in the description if you want to read it. And plans for future videos. Fantasy Booking Retribution. That's going to take place on either Tuesday or Wednesday. I want to wait for the WWE draft to end before I do that. Yeah. So that's going to be the next video. And I'll see you in the next video or the next stream. Take care.